what I'm going to be doing today is kind of just setting the context for the rest of the event here in this track. So I'll talk a little bit about the service landscape as a whole, kind of our products, the ecosystem, what that looks like, some of the current offerings that we have, the ethos for why, we've developed the products in the way we have, and we'll talk a little bit about looking forward, things we're looking to develop in the future, things we're working on now, and what you guys might see, over the next year or so. In general, I think it's a really exciting time, obviously, in software. You guys probably saw some really cool, really crazy, interesting things in the initial keynotes today. A lot of that stuff we weren't even talking about last year, right? So I think there's a lot of confusion in the air. No one really knows what's hype, what's actually usable. In 5 months, am I going to have a support team, or are they going to all be fired and they're all going to be robots? Who really knows? We'll at least today try to add a little, context and background about what we do currently have, what we're working on, what might be reasonable, and what that might look like for you as you're administrating a support tool or a support system. Okay, so what does the current offering look like, or what is our service landscape currently is composed of, right? We have a lot of different products. Some of you might be on Zoho One, or you might be familiar with kind of our entire platform. We say this a lot. Zoho has 55 apps, 65 apps, 150 apps. Why do we have so many apps? What do they all do? How do I make sense of it all? Which ones do I use? Which ones do I not use? We've kind of built all these applications for very specific teams or very specific uses. They all coordinate and they work really well together. They're kind of organized in different domains, right? And we see these different domains in the different tracks kind of in the event right now. So now that we've all broken out of the big keynotes into these individual tracks, those kind of suites and platforms in the middle here, obviously service is one of those. We're in the service track here. So we're going to dive deeper into the service tools, but we have, products across all these different domains, right? Sales, marketing, HR, finance, stuff like that. At the very top, that whole operating system, it all comes together within Zoho One. A lot of the customers that we have, they like to use everything in the operating system. Well, they don't use everything, but they put as much, as they can. They use a lot of our tools for running their entire business, but not everyone likes to do that, right? So some people only pick and choose one or two parts and pieces. Maybe they'll use Desk and the CRM, but then they integrate with DocuSign and SurveyMonkey and QuickBooks and stuff like that. That's totally fine as well too. But again, hopefully that explains the landscape a little bit. Some of you are probably already familiar with it. Maybe you're not. That middle level, that platform level, for us, we call that Service Plus. That has kind of all of those domain specific tools for a service team. And some of those tools, put here on this slide, this isn't exactly the Service Plus offering, but these are the tools that service teams typically seem to use day in and day out. At the center of that, right, that's Zoho Desk. The next session, we're going to be talking about everything that's new in Zoho Desk. Zoho Desk is going to be the kind of the center point of this track anyways. But that's where we can engage with people across a lot of different channels. It all comes into one place. All of those kind of engagements come in as tickets, and obviously we can work through the tickets with our support team. But we also have a lot of these other tools, and these other tools represent other ways we can provide service or other channels that we can connect with our customers, right? So if someone calls in, obviously you can integrate with something like Ring Central or Twilio, but we also provide you with Zoho Voice if you want to use one of our own tools for that. If a customer is looking for support on a computer and you're remotely offering that, we can use a tool like Zoho Assist, right, to connect with them. If we're doing in-person servicing of equipment or field service work or house calls or anything like that, maybe we're a service-based company, we can facilitate that with Zoho FSM. Okay, so hopefully that adds a little context to why we have all these tools and how the tools we're going to talk about here in the next day or two fit in to that bigger picture. When we develop these tools, there's a couple things that we have in mind, and I would say these are kind of like the three pillars of what we consider to be excellent customer service, or three things that we're really focusing on being able to provide to our customers throughout our support ecosystem. We're going to break down kind of what that looks like, and I'll give you a couple examples here. So we're going to talk about omni-channel support, we're going to talk about contextual awareness, and we're going to also, of course, talk about customer happiness. So let's start with omni-channel support. What does that really look like? I kind of brought this up once or twice. It's definitely like a very common buzzword in the space. Let's just take an example of a t-shirt company. And let's walk through an entire customer support interaction, both from the customer side and then the agent side. So if you're a customer and you ordered a bunch of t-shirts from us and they came and maybe the sizes were wrong or maybe they were damaged or something, and you need to get in touch with the support team and get that fixed, what are you going to do? From the administrator side or from the company owner side, right? We're trying to deliver the best customer service we can to that client, but maybe we have limited support resources. We have customers that are trying to engage with us, phone, email, they're sending me letters, they're going on my website, they're sending me, they're tweeting at me. How can I manage all of that, right? So we're going to talk about what that looks like. From the customer's point of view, in an omni-channel support context or in a system that allows them to get in touch with us in many different ways, maybe they go to the portal on our website. You guys might be familiar with this. This is a Zoho Desk customer portal. From here, they can look at a couple different things. So I've got my knowledge base with a bunch of great articles that they could go click on. There's a community. Maybe they have a forum, they can see other people asking questions about our products and engaging and starting discussions. And they could also go in and submit tickets and see a history of all the different tickets they've submitted. So all the issues they've had with us in the past, right? So what is the first thing they're going to do? Maybe they're going to go for some self-service. Obviously, self-service is great when customers can take care of issues themselves. It saves us time, it saves us resources. It's great for them to get that answer, the service immediately instead of having to wait for an agent to see the question, research it and respond. So they're going to go and they're going to look through our knowledge base with a bunch of articles with commonly asked questions, right? Maybe it's about a refund policy. It's about, items being damaged. It's about how to get in contact with us if you're looking for bulk orders or discounted pricing or something like that. Those tier 1 questions that are really commonplace that really don't require a lot of thought, they can come here and they can get it taken care of. Maybe they don't find what they're looking for, right? So they look through the knowledge base, they get an answer to a question or two, but there's still some stuff that they need to figure out. Hey, I still have these, damaged t-shirts and I just really want to talk to someone. So from that same portal, they can actually initiate a chat, right? They'll talk to someone live. They hammer the question out, get the answer right there. Maybe we're out to lunch and maybe no one is immediately available. So what they'll do is they'll go and then submit a ticket instead. Or maybe they'll send us an email. Or maybe they'll reach out to us on Instagram or Twitter or anything, right? If they look in one place, they don't get the answer they're looking for. It's pretty common for customers now not to look in the same place again, but to try to find a different way to get in contact with us. And that's what we talk about when we talk about omni-channel support, right? Meeting customers where they're at, not forcing them to meet us on our terms, but meeting them on their own terms, right? So there's a lot of different ways we can do that. I've named a couple of these. There's some new things that are popping up, right? SMS is becoming a lot more popular. In the US, not so much, but for our global customers, WhatsApp is becoming really popular as well, or companies that have maybe employees across, multiple different countries. That's really common. I talked about the remote. I talked about the in-field service. These are things that we've had for a long time, right? We've also been expanding our channels and we've been adding new ones. So I think last year we added a couple things like, business messaging. We did an answer bot that we'll talk about a little bit. We're integrating with social media channels. There's new social media tools out, it seems like every month. Your kids are probably going to start looking for customer support on TikTok and Snapchat and stuff. So I'm sure that's going to be more common in the next couple years, right? So we have the core stuff done. We are constantly kind of expanding into new channels. And as new things pop up, we'll keep adding them into our ecosystem. And the goal, of course, is, wherever someone needs to get in contact with you, you'll be able to connect with them. And it's all going to flow into one place. That one place is Zoho Desk. And from there, we can engage with all of these customers across all these different channels. Okay, so let's talk about that second pillar, contextual awareness. So what do we mean when we talk about contextual awareness, and why do we feel like it's really important to deliver good customer service? When we think about a modern software ecosystem, A lot of people have, 5, 6, 7, 8 software that they're using daily, right? You're interfacing with your clients on QuickBooks. You're sending them invoices. You've sent them a mass email through Zoho Mail, or excuse me, like something like campaigns. Maybe they've sent you an individual email, right? And it's come into your mail account. Maybe they're going on your website, right? If we have a customer who's reaching us in 3 or 4 different places, and they've told us information in one place and they've told us different information in another place, it can be a really frustrating experience when we finally get them connected with someone on our support team and we have to have them re-explain all this stuff, right? So in order to deliver our best service possible, to get the right answer quickest, to get the right person on that issue, efficiently as possible, it's really nice to have all the information available to us when we're looking at those issues. So if we're engaging with customers in all these different places, how can we make sure the information isn't siloed into these individual apps? How can we make sure the information that the account manager saw or the engagement the account manager had with the customer last week isn't lost on the support rep when they're talking to them a week later, right? Actually, you see it a lot of times the other way. The customer calls up the account manager. There's a big support issue. What is the first thing the account manager need to do? Go look into the desk tool and see what the issues are. So let's see what that would actually look like in one of our ecosystems, right? What does contextually aware support look like? So if a ticket gets assigned, we'll use the same example that I talked about earlier. So the customer did end up submitting that ticket. They had a damaged t-shirt order and they're looking for some help. We can see the ticket owner. They'll be able to see when it was assigned. They'll be able to see when the ticket came in, how old it was, stuff like that. We're going to try to help that agent as much as possible. With the knowledge base articles that we had already created and that are stored and indexed, we're going to search and find relevant articles that we can suggest to that agent. So they're going to have as much information about maybe our internal policies as possible, and they'll be able to answer that really quickly, right? So we'll suggest that to them. Maybe we are going to add, I don't have this in the slides, but we'll talk about it really quickly. On the left side of the screen here, all of these different little icons a lot of them represent different products, right? So this is a CRM, this is books. You could see FSM there. You could see a lot of other products there. So if we're engaging with customers as well across these different products, I can click on that icon and I can see the invoice that we just sent them. I can see the customer record in the CRM, or I could see right from here, I can create actually like a work order in FSM, right? So we're allowing all of that context to come into the ticket screen. So when the agent is opening that ticket up and working with the customer, we can see all of that in one place. From the account manager's point of view, what does that look like? So they've pulled up the customer record. This is a large customer you work with daily. Maybe they sent you an email. They said there was an issue. You need to see what's going on. You live in the CRM. You're spending most of your time in there. You don't want to have to go to a different screen. You don't want to have to pull up desk. Search for the customer's name and desk. Find the old ticket. Find the new ticket. Click into each ticket and see what's going on. It's do that 20, 30 times a day. That's going to be your whole life. What we're able to do here is go to the customer's record, of course. We'll be able to see the tickets. We'll be able to open them up. From here, we could actually engage with the ticket if we wanted, right? So if we wanted to add a little comment and say, hey, David Ingus, who's the support person who is responsible for this ticket. Hey, David, this guy just called me. They're looking for help on their order. They said it came damaged. Tell me what's the story. What have you guys looked into it, right? Or what have you found out so far? Or at least I can also talk to the customer and I can say, hey, I can see David's on it. I can see he's working on it. He dropped a note and a comment. They said they're going to get that resolved to you in a week or two, right? So all that information is going to be available for me right from the CRM. I can work with them across different channels, right? So I can call that person if I want, initiate the call right from the CRM. It's all going to be logged. All that information is going to be stored. And I didn't have to leave one screen, right? So omnichannel support, we're working with people in all these different places, and we're also making sure that data is not siloed. So we're bringing it into the different spheres. When I'm in the CRM, I get to see desk context. When I'm in desk, I can see CRM context, right? We're going to give you all that information. So each person going into those engagements is as prepared as possible. Okay, let's talk about customer happiness. I think if we follow these kind of tenets, if we keep these things in mind, customer happiness is a natural kind of conclusion as much as possible typical of a good support team, but it's always something we need to pay attention to. It's always something we need to think about tracking, where are we doing, what are we doing well, and where are the gaps right now? Where could we be spending a little bit more time and energy? Where could we be putting more resources into our support process, right? So what we're always trying to do is constantly ask for feedback, constantly monitor our customers' experience, and see where those gaps are, see where we need to spend a little bit of time and energy, right? So maybe David Ingus sends a response. He talks to the customer. We resolve the issue. Hey, sorry about the issue. We're going to ship the new batch of shirts to you in a rush order, and they'll be on your desk, in a week or something, right? At the end of the ticket, we can obviously send a little feedback widget. Some of you guys are probably familiar with this. You've seen this. Maybe you've reached out to support from Zoho, and you've seen this as well too. And of course, you only give great feedback because that's the only reasonable conclusion if you're working with Zoho support. But anyways, the customer had a good time. They decided to give us good feedback. That's great. And they're going to submit this little widget. We could take it a step further if we wanted, using a tool like Zoho Survey. We could also, do a really simple workflow after a ticket has been resolved or resolution, has been reached, and we close the ticket out. Send a survey automatically to the customer and let them know we appreciate their feedback. So from here, they're able to, fill the survey out, and then it's all going to be stored here on the ticket, right? So we're going to give you that individual happiness rating and that individual feedback within the ticket itself. So if anyone needs to go back and look at it, that's totally fine. And it's also going to be able to be shown in the CRM as well too. So from here, the account manager will be able to see, right, the context of how we've engaged with this client without having to click into individual tickets, without having to go into reports. Just a really quick litmus test. Is this guy happy? Is he upset? Do I need to give him a call? And we'll see this too in a lot of different channels like IM. And I talked about reports really briefly to kind of set the scene for reporting in Zoho's tools. If you guys aren't familiar, all the individual applications we have will come with their own reporting, right? So if you go into the CRM has its own reporting. If you go into Desk has its own reports. Survey has its own reports. We also have a tool called Analytics. So why do we have a tool like Analytics if we already have all this great reporting within our individual tools? The nice thing about Analytics is it allows you to report across domains or across these different teams. So how does my service affect my account management, customer retention? How does sales numbers affect, marketing, or how does marketing affect sales, right? That's really the right way to think about it. That's kind of the beauty of Analytics. It allows you to report across the platform in blended data and make, more specific business level intelligence or insights into your processes. So we're going to have all of this pre-built for you in Desk, but if you want, you can go to Analytics. There's going to be a lot of great stuff there as well too. And again, the great thing is it's going to be blended data. Okay, so hopefully I didn't ramble too much. That's a little bit about the scene or the current landscape of our products and offerings specifically for service, kind of how they fit within the rest of the ecosystem, things that we're always thinking about when we're making products and we're adding features to those products, and what we think good service might be. I'm not going to hammer you guys too hard with this because I think you just sat through like 2 hours of AI. There's a whole other AI track. There's a lot of really good stuff out there right now, and we'll talk about more specific features deeper in this track as we get into real sessions. But I just want to talk a little bit about the landscape and as it pertains to service. So, this is not going to surprise anyone. Obviously, adoption of AI tools within service teams has been generally increasing, very steadily for the last couple of years. You could see this across all domains, but I think in general, service is a place that people are really interested in looking to save time, save resources, and deliver better experiences to customers in a way that's not just throwing more bodies at the problem. Obviously, when we're using AI, we're using new technology as a way to amplify our support reps and as a way to make their lives better, as a way to resource them more, give them the right information, empower them to deliver better service. You're going to find the resolution time is going to go down significantly. We're going to find that customer satisfaction goes up. So it's important to consider, and this is why we're putting so much effort into AI in general, but especially in this domain. there's a lot of stuff that we've already built, right? Some of you who are using Desk a lot might be familiar with some of these things on the screen, right? You might be using some of these insights already. You might be looking at some of the summaries. You might be already doing some of the reply assistance or suggested articles and stuff like that. So we've been working on it, and we have really started to see a lot of great development there. But of course, there is a lot more that is coming down the pipeline within the next year. This technology is changing really, really rapidly, and we're doing our best to keep up with it, right? So over time, you'll see with Zoho, in Desk, but in all these different domains, AI features start to sprinkle in every single product you use, and they're just going to become more and more useful and more helpful to you as time goes on. We're thinking about it for each different person in that process, each different stakeholder, right, in the customer service experience. Admins and managers, we're thinking about it from the agent perspective, and we're also thinking about how to empower end users or our clients with AI as well, right? So I could just really quickly, we can highlight some of those. For an admin and manager, maybe it's a field prediction that's going to help you automatically assign tickets to your team without having to have someone manually assign all of those fields, right? Maybe it's an anomaly prediction that'll allow you to see issues that stand out or things you need to pay attention to that you might not have noticed unless you're looking at every ticket yourself. From an agent point of view, obviously, we're trying to empower them to deliver better responses quicker, to be empowered with all of the right information without having to look into that themselves. And we're looking to do everything we can to allow them to give better responses in a quicker time frame. And I highlighted everything for the end user because I think as we kind of pepper in AI throughout this entire process, throughout all those three pillars that I was talking about earlier, they're just going to ultimately end up with a better experience. Okay, so I've broken these down into a couple different, say, territories or a couple different modules, you want to say, just to add some maybe organization to this, because I think it's really easy to get bogged down with AI and confused by all of it. We're going to talk about a couple of those here. Let's think about AI as a strategist, mostly for, your managers and your admins. Field level intelligence, I kind of talked about this earlier. I think two of the ways it could be really used in an interesting way is our field predictions with Zoho Desk that allow you to predict something like the region, the status, or the priority of a ticket. So based on the history of the customer, based on the content of the ticket, can we predict that this is going to be a high priority ticket? Looking at past examples in your ecosystem, can then we make sure those high priority tickets are routed to agents quicker, so a ticket that comes in that's low priority isn't left unanswered sitting in the dust. We also have Ask Zia, obviously for a desk specific context, it could be really useful. You can ask for, hey, show me all my overdue tickets, show me tickets that are open for my large customers or something like that. But the really cool thing about it is you can see it opens to other products as well. So within Desk, if I need to get CRM specific information while I'm servicing a client, I'm able to do that without having to leave to a different product. We also have really great automatically generated insights. Those anomaly detections I talked about, you kind of see them a little small on the screen, but those are those stars, right? Hey, is there anything that we have noticed as an outlier or an anomaly that the manager needs to pay attention to, right? So we can generate some stuff for you to point those out so you don't have to miss anything. We're also thinking about using AI as an assistant. This gets more into the agent's experience. So whether it's something like a summary of a ticket, right? You open a ticket, the ticket might have 100 threads on it, and someone asks you to take a closer look. Hey, we got this customer issue. Can you help me out? Well, if I open it up and there's 100 threads, I know I'm going to spend 30 minutes catching up on everything. So the summary can help me get that information a little bit quicker, right? I could summarize it, or I could filter it out. So it maybe just summarize the outgoing messages. So just what we've sent. I just want to see our agent responses. Or incoming. I just want to see a summary of the customer's requests, right? There's a lot of ways to kind of slice and dice that. We'll also be able to give you thread summaries as well too. So not just the entire ticket in every single thread, but individual threads if you have a really, really long response. Zia Search is coming up as well too. Again, it's just a more powerful way to search through your system. There's actually a lot of data that shows that a big pattern that's emerging is people are going to tools like ChatGPT and other LLMs instead of Google and traditional search engines for information. They're finding that the answers are a little bit more helpful, a little bit more contextual, and we're giving you that same ability within your own products, right? So Of course, you can go and you can do a standard search for information if you like, but we're trying to give you the AI-enabled searching that's going to give you a little bit better, more refined of an answer if you'd like. So that's something cool that we're coming out with. And we're also thinking about using Zia as a content collaborator, right? What does that look like? Can Zia help generate responses for me? Can it be a reply assistant? Maybe we have really good articles and we're looking for good articles and we have a great customer experience or a great customer. Sometimes you come across a ticket that is a good teaching example for everyone else on your team, right? What we can do is we can take those tickets, turn them into articles automatically, and then use those articles either to inform responses later, to train our LLMs on that later, or share it with my team so they'll be able to see, hey, this is a tough case. It comes up a lot, but I want to let everyone be aware of what the resolution was here, right? And again, just to kind of summarize, these are the 3 things that we're really focusing on over the next 2 days. You'll see us talk about these things in all these different presentations. We're going to dive deeper into each of these different products. And with all the stuff we're working on with AI, I think you'll see contextual awareness empowering our agents and allowing them to give better answers quickly. Ultimately, is going to give us the best customer experience we can. And that's the goal with any service-based team. Thank you.